So are you moving to the Atlanta area and you're thinking about living in the Midtown location, but you're kind of wondering, okay, what's the good and what's the bad of living in this area? Well, that's what I'm going to cover in this video. I want to give you my personal take on what I love about Midtown and things I really don't like about Midtown. So stay tuned. We're going to get after it right now. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about the pros of living in Midtown. And number one would be location. Midtown is pretty much the center of the city. So, if you have to work where you're having to commute to suburbs, and, I just talked to one person that said he's going to be covering all of Georgia. So, living in Midtown would be a great central location. That way you're never having to commute too far to one spot because you're just right there smack dab in the center. It's also right next to the highway system. So popping onto 75, 85 is a breeze. There's also 3 MARTA stations in Midtown. So getting around, if you don't want to drive, you can take the MARTA station, and there's 3 different convenient spots there in the Midtown area. It's an easy way to get down to the airport. So yeah, location is just phenomenal for Midtown. Number 2 would be walkability. Now, I've mentioned this in a lot of my other Midtown videos, but Midtown is a place that you can truly have a lot of walkability and a walkable lifestyle. You're going to see people out walking around, a lot of people that live there just walking around to different restaurants, shops, bars, the park, and people that work there, they're going out to walk and grab some lunch, that kind of thing. You can walk to shows and different events that are around in Midtown. It's all kind of there within a short walking distance, so you really don't have to have a car. I've always said that, if there's one place in Atlanta you could get by without having a car, that would be Midtown. And I truly do mean that. Most of Atlanta, you're going to need a car just to get around and get groceries, that kind of thing. But in Midtown, you don't necessarily have to have a car. I know some people that have lived in Midtown for over a year, 2 years, and they don't have a car. And yes, they use Uber sometimes if they want to get to some places that are not conveniently located off the MARTA line. But for the most part, you can get by without a car in the Midtown area. Number 3 on my list would be entertainment. Now, if there's ever a place that you're going to not find a lack of things to do, would be in Midtown. There's the whole art scene. They've got the High Museum of Art. There's the Center for Puppetry Arts, the Woodruff Arts Museum. There's the Fox Theater. Plus, there's always parades going down Peachtree Street, and there's festivals going on in the Midtown Piedmont Park area. So you're always going to find something going on in the Midtown area, and never a lack of things to do. Number 3 on my list would be easy access to green space. Now, Piedmont Park is like the central park of the Atlanta area. It's just a beautiful park. You can easily get there from Midtown no matter where you live. Maybe on the farther ends that you have to walk maybe 1.5 miles to get to Piedmont Park. But Piedmont Park is a great green space that you can easily get to. Go to the farmer's market. They've got a public pool. There's a playground there if you've got kiddos. Or a lot of people go there and just kind of lounge and have a picnic on a really nice day. You can take a jog there. There's also a ginormous dog park. So if you've got dogs, you can take them there to stretch their legs. And the botanical garden is over at Piedmont Park too. So I love hanging out there personally. I take my kids there. I run around there. I go to the pool there. So this is a great green space right there at your doorstep if you live in Midtown. Number 5 on my list would be city buzz. So if you are looking for that true city living feeling, then Midtown is where you want to be. Now, we're no New York City or Chicago with their amount of high-rise living, condos, and apartments, but the closest thing to that would be Midtown. You get that nightlife feeling, the lights, and people out and about walking around. You almost have FOMO if you're not out all the time and seeing what's going on. So if you want that kind of city feel, then you definitely want to consider living in Midtown. Wrapping my list up of the pros of living in Midtown would be that it is clean. Now, Midtown just does a great job of picking up trash, especially after big events or parades. We just had the big Peachtree road race. It's a big 10K race, 50,000 runners running through Midtown, finishing over at Piedmont Park. And whenever there's a festival at Piedmont Park, people can leave a lot of trash at a festival or a big event like that. But the next day, I mean, it is all cleaned up, or they're working on it and cleaning it up. And Piedmont Park, kudos to them. They are so good at picking up all the trash in the Piedmont Park area. But yeah, Midtown is just, they do a really good job of not keeping it dirty, like the trash is all picked up. And another comment I have been told several times from people, especially coming from LA to look for places to live in the Midtown area, they're all like, wow, you don't have a big homeless camp anywhere. And that, I know that's a big problem in LA right now, is they're just having these huge homeless camps just everywhere. And while I'm not saying Midtown's perfect and we don't have homeless people, because we do, they're kind of scattered here and there, but we don't have huge camps just sprawled out on sidewalks and out in the open. We do a really good job of containing that. So kudos to Midtown on keeping it clean. Before I move on to the cons of living in Midtown, make sure you hit me up if you are thinking about making a move to the Atlanta area and you want to live in Midtown especially. Let me know, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email. Let's talk about what you're looking for, and I can help you find a place that fits your lifestyle and your budget. So all my contact information is down below. I've been hearing from so many of you, and I'm so excited to be helping a lot of you out. I've helped some of you already find places in Midtown, and I look forward to helping many, many more of you. So don't be shy, reach out to me, and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can follow along about everything I talk about in the Atlanta area. All right, so moving right along into the cons. What is not great about living in Midtown? Well, first of all, Midtown is crowded. It's definitely a lot more condensed, high density area than say like Buckhead, which also has a bunch of high rise living. It is just a more populated, dense area. So yeah, you come from, I remember showing clients condos in Buckhead where you just feel like, wow, everything's spread out. And then you come into Midtown and everything is a lot more condensed down. So that is just, you know, nature of some high-rise city living, is it's going to be crowded. And it can be noisy too. You know, there is a fire station there right off of 10th. So I always tell people, you know, if you live in some of those condos right around that fire station, you might hear some fire truck noises. Just remember that this is a bustling neighborhood with people out and about. So it's going to be noisy, and you're going to have those city sounds, and it'll be a little bit crowded. It's nothing like New York where you're like squeezed in like sardines, but it definitely is a little bit crowded. Number 2 con on my list would be limited parking. Okay, you know, wherever you go in Midtown, for the most part, you're going to be paying a parking meter or a parking garage. Sometimes those parking garage spaces, they can be very narrow or they can be very limited. You know, if you have, if you're going to a business, they'll probably have a few dedicated spots, but sometimes they're taken, and then you got to find another parking spot. So that would be one kind of downside of Midtown, is sometimes you always have to worry about where you're going to find a place to park, and some of those places, those parking spots can be very narrow. Number 3 is that it can be expensive to live in Midtown. Now, believe it or not, the condo prices for Midtown are actually a little bit higher than Buckhead. The median sales price for a condo right now in Midtown is around $373,500, whereas Buckhead, it's actually only $339,000, and this is for a 1-bedroom condo. But even rent in Midtown is pretty expensive. It's just over $2,000 average rental price for a 1-bedroom condo or apartment in Midtown. So it's not cheap living in a Midtown, but all the great amenities and all the things to do around there really make up for it. Number 4 on my list is a lack of grocery stores. So there's only a couple of grocery stores in Midtown. There is the Publix there off of Peachtree Place and Spring Street. Otherwise, there is the Whole Foods, which is a nice Whole Foods there off of 14th Street and West Peachtree Street, I believe. So those are your only 2 options. So if you really don't have a car, you are going to be walking to one of those 2 grocery stores. Otherwise, you need to head over to Ansley Mall, and there is both a Kroger and a Publix there. There's also a Trader Joe's on the opposite side of Midtown, right there at the corner of 10th and Monroe. But that would be a pretty long walk if you were wanting to walk. It'd be probably over a mile, mile and a half. And if you've got a bunch of grocery bags and you're walking back with those, that's going to be a long, long walk. So not a lot of grocery stores in the direct central Midtown area. Number 5 on my list would be lack of bike lanes. So I am not well, I love riding my Peloton, but I will refuse to ride a bike on city streets in Atlanta, mainly because I've noticed, especially in Midtown, you know, they're trying, it just hasn't quite gotten all the way there, is that there are some bike lanes, they go and then they just randomly end. And then you're kind of merged on with traffic, and that's not really helpful. So Midtown could improve on getting really good, an intricate system of bike lanes. Right now it's just a little choppy, and yeah, I will not ride my bike in Midtown, but I know a lot of people do. I'm just not brave enough. The number 6 con on my list for Midtown is that we're really lacking new condo buildings. Now, if you go into Midtown right now, and this is 2023, you're gonna see several cranes going up, and I've mentioned this in another video, but all those cranes, they're building new apartments to rent. But not a lot of new condos to buy. The only latest new condos in the Midtown area have been the 40 West 12th Midtown, which is our luxury condos that are attached to the Google building, and they start like at $1 million plus. So not really affordable for everyone. The other building would be J5. And while this building is beautiful, it's not a high rise, and some people want that high rise view. And it's also kind of on the edge of Midtown. So it's not for everyone. A lot of people want to be in the heart of Midtown. There's just not a lot of space, and you can only build so much. But I wish some of these buildings that they were building for apartments were actually new condos that were in that more affordable range for people, because the condo buildings that we do have in Midtown, they were all built in 2007, 2008, and they're looking really dated. Now, the HOAs have done some great updates to the common areas, and homeowners, some have updated the individual units. So those are great units, but the ones that are still original, they really look 2007, original styles. And I like to see some fresh, new finishes in some of these condo buildings. And yeah, we're just not seeing a lot of new condo buildings to purchase that are not in that luxury category space. All right, you guys, so that is the short and sweet version of pros and cons of living in the Midtown area. I hope this was helpful for you, but if you want to talk further, reach out to me, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email. Don't be shy. I'm waiting to hear from you. And I love talking about all things Midtown, or just all things Atlanta. So can't wait to hear from you. I hope this was helpful. And until next time, I'll see you around the neighborhood.